Number two post at the FBI, the Trump administration has installed a right-wing podcaster, Dan Bongino. NBC News reporting that FBI agents, the rank and file, are dismayed. He's made many outrageous claims. He's seen as a media entertainer with some law enforcement background, not in the FBI. This is what he said in 2022 about a lawful search by FBI agents of Mar-a-Lago.
Fire every single person involved in political targeting of Donald Trump. Fire everyone. It's the only way. The evidence of a corrupted FBI is everywhere.
The Washington Post reporting that FBI agents view these two people now running the FBI as the folks who might use the FBI to carry out potentially improper or even unlawful directives from the White House. Now, Politico reports that you've got the acting DAG, Emile Beauvais, who wants to use the legal system for the president's aims, while the top U.S. attorney in D.C. faces backlash for basically saying the exact opposite of the role you have there, describing himself as Donald Trump's own lawyer rather than serving at taxpayer expense for the American people. The DOJ has also ousted the prosecutors who worked on the January 6th case, two of them speaking out.
Why were you fired?
Because I did my job. I got fired because I did exactly what I was supposed to do.
I think we know what we did was right. No regrets. Absolutely none.
What we did was justice.
And in how many of your cases was the defendant acquitted?
None.
None.
Which tells you what?
The evidence was overwhelming.
Overwhelming evidence to convict those people. Then Donald Trump released them all, which, remember, well, a lot of folks have a lot of different agendas. The 83% on your screen is American unity. Republicans and Democrats, conservatives and liberals, overwhelming opposition to pardoning the people who stormed the Capitol that day. I want you to keep that in mind because there are a lot of things going on, and we try to cover a lot of them, and we make those judgments. This is one of those slow-burning stories that just exists in the background because all those convictions came in, people lived through it, we know what happened, and then he pardoned them all, one of the greatest abuses of the pardon power in modern history. Until it happened, it was almost unthinkable that you would pardon people who attacked police, who stormed the Capitol. Remember, on January 6th and 7th, Trump and his allies were still claiming it was an inside job or it was Antifa liberals. Why? Because it was so obviously bad, so criminal, they wanted to blame it on someone else. Now we live in a country where Donald Trump, as president, has embraced it, even as 8 out of 10 Americans, with all of that spin out there, still say, no, this was too far. This is something the White House would like to just go away. You can see the prosecutors speaking out, and we have two special guests, including one who's been inside the sanctum of that courtroom, because this is not just going away.
My record is Donald Trump should ignore this. This judge is obviously not acting constitutionally at all. It should be ignored. How about Donald Trump in the East Room of the White House sets up a courtroom like, remember the Batman movies? Scarecrow has the courtroom. What was it, the Bane one? That's what we need to do.
No lawyer, no witnesses. What sort of due process is this?
Your guilt has been determined. This is merely a sentencing hearing.
That's the sound of someone who now is the number 2 at the FBI under Trump, literally saying he roots for the bad guy, the villain. That's the inspiration. We're joined by a very special guest. Lauren Ober was a juror in one of the January 6 trials and has recounted that experience in the Washington Post. And our friend John Harwood, a veteran Washington correspondent, distinguished fellow at Duke University, longtime journalist. Lauren, what did you learn in your front row seat?
Thanks for inviting me. First of all, I think that what I learned is that there was so much evidence in all of these cases. It was really overwhelming, for one, because people just videoed themselves. The defendant in my case took 1 million videos of himself saying that he did it. It wasn't Antifa. It wasn't the FBI. It wasn't the deep state. It was him. He stormed the Capitol. So, they were kind of telling on themselves.
Yeah. And the obvious friction here is that all of that was proven in the court of law in the cases that led to convictions. But the beneficiary of that failed effort, in some cases it was the violence failed to change the outcome. In the sedition cases, it was a convicted sedition that didn't resolve in the way they wanted of regime change, has now obviously been overtaken by that beneficiary. So the Trump administration controls all this. Did that cross your mind? Did that hang over any of the feeling in the room? And how did you feel learning that the people that you saw convicted with overwhelming evidence now roam free?
I mean, I didn't think that it was a possibility that 1,600 people would be released. I think that when I was in that courtroom, you know, you're there to do a job. And I think that we executed our, you know, civic responsibility faithfully and thoughtfully. You know, to see what's become of it now, it's a scary precedent, to be quite honest. You know, we believe in the justice system for a reason, and to see it cast aside like this is, at least from my perspective, really troubling.
John, your thoughts on all of the above?
Look, Americans throughout our lifetime have taken the rule of law for granted. It's something that's vital not only to the civil liberties of the American people, it's vital to our economy, vital to our national security. And what we're seeing is a systematic effort by the Trump administration to erode the rule of law. And Kash Patel and Dan Bongino at the FBI are part of that. You know, there's another video of Bongino that you didn't show where he says, my whole life is about owning the libs now. And he said, it's all about power, power, power. Well, that's a correct assessment of his worldview. And the same with Donald Trump and the rest of the high levels of the administration. It's about accumulating power and using power to your benefit for your purposes. And in the case of the Trump administration, it is clear beyond doubt that their purposes are corrupt.